Hi, welcome back to the channel and to my SEO Made Simple series. In the last video, we talked about the basics of keywords. What are they, the types of keywords, and the types of tools that are available to help you do your keyword research. If you're still new to understanding SEO keywords and you haven't had a chance to watch that video yet, I will link it up above, but be sure to check that out first before moving on to this video, because in this video, we're going to be going over what to do with those keywords once you've figured out which ones you're going to target. Where do you put them on your website to maximize your SEO optimization strategy? But before we get started, my name is Meg. I'm a Squarespace web designer and founder of Floating Lotus Design. And if you're finding this series helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button or subscribe so you get notified when the next video drops. So the first area you want to be including your keywords is in your titles, your title tags, or you'll sometimes see the word SEO title, depending on what platform you're using. But this is where you want to incorporate your primary keywords in the title of each of your web pages, your blog posts. The tag should be describing the content of the page and be compelling. You want people to want to click on it. So the current guidelines are to keep that title length within 50 to 60 characters. Otherwise, you risk getting your title truncated in the Google search results. Next is your meta or SEO descriptions. These are the descriptions that show up in Google search results once you've typed in a query. So you'll have the title and then a short description below. That's your meta or SEO description. You want to be sure to include your keyword or keywords in this description, and its purpose is to provide a brief and compelling summary of what is in the article or in the web page. Current guidelines right now for the descriptions are to keep them within 150 to 160 characters. This seems pretty short, and it is. So you really want to be concise and use your keywords wisely. The 150 to 160 character count is really because so much search and results are being shown on mobile devices now that they're keeping them much shorter. But you do want to make sure that you realize that in some platforms, Squarespace being one of them, the systems do allow you to put in a longer description. Again, keeping in mind that anything above that 160 character count risks being truncated in the search results. So make sure that you keep the most important keywords and information at 160 characters maximum. Next, we have header tags, or you'll see these referred to as H1, H2, H3. So remember back when we took, English class in high school, we were taught to outline things. You had your title, and then your subtitles, and then subtitles from there and into the body of your content. This is what the header tags do. They create that structure for the content on your web page and or in a blog post. So you want to use your keywords in the header tags to help structure your content. And this helps the search engines understand the structure of your content and the context of it. So the H1 tag is a very important tag, and you want to have one H1 on each page or each blog post, but you don't want to have more than one. That can have a negative impact on your SEO. So think of the H1 as the title of your page, and you want to keep that around 5 to 12 words. The H2 and H3 and then on down if you have H4 and so can be used for the subheadings within your content. So this helps structure your content and gives an order to it. And you want to utilize keywords there too. So this is a good opportunity to use some of those related keywords or variations on your main keyword to help structure that. Of course, coming after that is the body of your content. So these are the places where you're doing your main paragraph font, if you will. And this is where you want to work on naturally incorporating your keywords into the body of your copy or into the body of your blog post or article. Now, this can take a little bit of practice because you don't want to stuff keywords. You don't want to kind of keep repeating the same thing over and over again. It takes a little bit of practice to work it in so it becomes a natural flow. And that's the thing you do want to focus on. You want your content to be useful and readable and valuable. You don't want it to seem forced. So don't stuff keywords. So for example, when you were a kid and you try to write an essay and say, I'm very, 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 very excited to go to the beach and visit my grandparents. It's going to be really, 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 really fun. It's not readable, that's not valuable, and it's stuffing the words just to create. So avoid trying to do that with your keywords. Sprinkle them throughout your content every around 150 words or so if you can, and make them flow naturally. Use variations, and remember that you have related keywords to fall back on as well. So even if it's not exact, variations can be really helpful here. Focus on the quality of your content and the flow of your content, and don't try to get too caught up in making sure that you've got keywords constantly throughout. Sprinkle them through, make it a natural flow, and just remember it takes practice. Next up, URLs. When you're creating URLs for your web pages, include keywords there too if possible. Now, it might not be possible on every page, but where you can, this can be a really helpful way to show, again, the structure of your page and your website, and anywhere you can put a keyword that's relevant to the page, that can be beneficial. This is the slug, so after yourdomain.com / we're talking about the slug here, keep it 4 to 6 words maximum. This is really helpful, especially when you're doing blog posts or articles, things like that, where you can include portions of the title or use your keywords. That will look favorably as well to the search engines because, again, you're giving them more of a context and more of a clue of the structure and what's going to be on that page. Next up, let's talk images. So on images, one of the most important things you can do on images is include alt text. Alt text are where you can use your descriptive keywords to describe the image. And this is helpful for the search engines to not only understand the content of what's in the image, but it also helps improve the accessibility for users who are visually impaired or using screen readers. So the combination of giving context to the image, because Google can search images, as well as having it being more accessible, are both things that are looked upon favorably by the search engines from an SEO perspective. So remember, sometimes you'll show up in a Google search, you'll get images that pop up. So if you use alt text, that's another way that your content can be served in the Google search results. So an example of this would be, let's go back to our yoga studio example. So say you have an image of one of your yoga classes in your studio on your services page. Well, the alt text on that image could be something like, students taking a hot vinyasa yoga class in our studio in Boston. There you've given it a description. Somebody who's using a reader can understand what that image is about, but you've also used the keywords of the type of class and your location within that alt text. Another thing to think about with images is your file name of your images. It's another opportunity, where applicable, to use keywords. So instead of uploading an image with a nonsensical or irrelevant file name like image45678.jpg, create the file name that's relevant to the image. So could be hot vinyasa yoga studio.jpg.png. It's another opportunity for you to use your keywords in the file name because they can see that as well. And it also is really helpful when you go back and need to figure out what images you've used to have them have a title that makes sense, makes them a lot easier to find later on. That file naming tip is also useful for any other types of files you may have on your website as well. So if you have some downloadable PDFs or videos or things like that, always look at those as opportunities to use your keywords in the file names. Just remember, it needs to be relevant. The search engines will be able to tell if you are creating an image or a file and naming it something or using alt text that absolutely is completely unrelated to the context of the image or the file. So next, let's talk about linking. So with internal linking, and that's where you are linking on one page of your website to a piece of content or another page within your website. It's also an opportunity here to use the anchor text to use keywords. So for example, if you're linking to another relevant blog post in your website, instead of, if you found this topic interesting, check out this blog post and just have this blog post with a link to the blog post you want to send them to. Instead, use that text that you have the link to, use the keywords. Maybe spell out the title of that blog post, but make it relevant instead of generic. This just sends another signal to the search engines about the content and context of the page and where it's going, and that will help you from an SEO perspective as well. Now, when it comes to external linking, and you're going to be linking off your site, important to remember to set those links up. Again, keywords can be relevant, but very important to set those up to open in a separate tab. And the reason behind this is that if you click on a link to an external source and it just opens within the same window, you've now taken those people completely off your website. It's closed, and that SEO traffic is now traveling to this external site. If you open it up in a new tab, your website is still staying open on their computer on one tab, and the new content is open on a separate tab, and therefore you retain your SEO traffic. Hope that makes sense. Finally, another great place to make sure you are taking advantage of some of your keywords. If remember, we talked about local SEO. So if you do have a brick and mortar location, or even if you are virtual but you still want local traffic, including information about your location, either throughout your content, also in your footer, whether that be an address, general location information, keywords related to that can be extremely helpful as well. The search engines will be able to see your local information and hopefully will start serving your website up in results for people searching for you locally. As you can see, there are many opportunities within your website and the pages and their content to be able to integrate your keywords as a part of your SEO strategy. Coming up in the next video, this one's going to be for my fellow Squarespace users. I'm going to show you exactly where and how to set up all of these things I mentioned today in your Squarespace website. So be sure you don't miss that one if you're a Squarespace user. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the description below, where I am including links to a lot of the information that I have been discussing throughout this series. So links to keyword research tools and other resources you may find helpful. All are linked there down below in the description, so check that out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.